The ancient ring drifted in silence near a dead star, where no planet circled and no living light warmed the dark. It was not broken. It was not rusted. It looked fresh, like it had been built yesterday, even though every scan said it was older than human history. The ship that found it slowed down at a safe distance, and every window filled with the same sight, a perfect circle wide as a city turning slowly in the cold. People named it quickly because humans always named the unknown. They called it the Galactic Keyhole. No one could say why it was there. No one could say who made it. It had no flag, no writing that matched any known language, and no simple control panel. But it had one strange feature. The ring had an opening inside it like a hollow eye, and inside that hollow space, light moved like thin water. It was not bright. It was not dark. It was a soft, shifting glow that seemed to wait. The mission was not a war mission. It was a study mission made of scientists, engineers, and explorers from many places. They came with strict rules. Do not touch without plans, do not rush, and do not let pride lead the work. The team had heard stories from older alien records about relics that ruined careless crews. So they moved like people walking through an old building with weak floors. Mark Evans stood in the main lab watching the ring through a wide screen. He was a systems engineer, a man who trusted patterns and small details. He did not look like a hero. He looked like a person who had slept too little and drank too much coffee. Yet he had a habit that made people listen. He noticed what others missed. The first days were quiet. Drones flew close and mapped the surface. The ring had smooth bands and small ridges, like layers in stone. There were no doors that anyone could see. No engines. No fuel tanks. No heat. It did not behave like a ship. It behaved like a thing that had been placed and left. Then the team detected a field around it. It was not a shield like a wall. It was more like a gentle pressure that changed when the crew looked at it. That alone made people uneasy. They tried simple tests. They sent a pulse of sound. They sent light signals. They sent radio patterns. The ring stayed silent. On the fifth day, a young explorer named Daniel Reed suggested a direct approach. What if it is waiting for a question? He said. Not a signal. A question. Most people laughed at that. Machines did not wait. But the ring did not act like a normal machine. And the team had nothing else. They decided to try anyway, but carefully. In the central bay of the ship, they set up a speaker system aimed at the ring. They also set up sensors that watched every small shift in the field, every change in the moving glow inside the circle. A small group gathered. Mark Evans, Dr. John Miller, who led the science team, and Helen Moore, a historian who studied old alien myths and lost routes. A few others stood behind them, quiet and serious. Dr. Miller cleared his throat. Galactic Keyhole, he said, speaking slowly. Can you hear us? Nothing happened. Helen tried next. We do not mean harm, she said. We want to understand what you are. Still nothing. Then Daniel said, half joking but also half honest, show us something. At that, the glow inside the ring rippled. It was small like a breath. The sensors spiked for a moment. People froze. Say that again, Mark said quickly. Daniel swallowed. Show us something, he repeated, more carefully this time. The glow widened. It moved like a curtain pulled aside. And then, for a brief second, the hollow center of the ring displayed an image. It was not a screen they could touch. It was like looking through a window into another place. They saw their own ship, but from a different angle, and the ship was closer to the ring than it was right now. The image lasted only 2 seconds. Then the glow settled back into its soft motion. The room went silent. Dr. Miller turned to the sensor tech. Is that live? Is that now? The tech shook his head. No. Our position is different. That was not current. Helen's voice was thin. It showed a near future. Mark stared at the ring on the screen and felt a strange chill. Or a possible future, he said. Not sure which. They tested again with different phrases. Show us tomorrow, someone said. The glow moved, but nothing clear appeared. Show us danger, another tried. The ring stayed quiet. Then Mark noticed something odd in the logs. The ring responded more strongly when more people spoke together. It was not just the words. It was the group. He asked Dr. Miller for permission to test a theory. They formed 2 teams. Team A would ask questions as a group, speaking in sequence, each adding a piece. Team B would ask questions through one person, a single voice. First, Team B tried. Dr. Miller stood alone at the microphone. Keyhole, he said. Show the next event that will happen to our ship. The glow flickered weakly. No image appeared. Then Team A tried. Mark, Helen, and Daniel stood together. Mark spoke first. Keyhole, he said. Helen followed. We are many minds. Daniel finished. Show us what happens if we move closer. The glow rippled hard, like a pond hit by rain. The hollow center opened again and an image formed. They saw the ship moving closer. They saw a drone drifting too near and suddenly going dark. Then they saw a small spark of light from the ring, gentle but sharp, and the drone spun away. It did not explode. It did not burn. It simply stopped working like someone had turned it off. The image faded. Dr. Miller stepped forward, looking unsettled. It answered them, he said, not me. Mark nodded slowly, his mind racing. It is not reacting to a leader, he said. It reacts to a group. Maybe it needs a shared question. A combined intention. A few people protested. That's not science, someone muttered. Helen looked over. It is science, she said. Just not the kind we are used to. They tried again and again, recording everything. Sometimes the keyhole showed nothing. Sometimes it showed quick fragments. A tool drifting out of reach, a crewmate slipping in low gravity, a sudden change in the ship's power load. Small things. Nothing dramatic. But each fragment was clear enough to make people rethink their next steps. They realized it was not giving one future. It was offering many possible outcomes, like paths in a forest. When they asked a question with clear choices, the keyhole showed more than one answer. The glow split into layers like stacked glass. Mark saw this best during a test about docking. A pilot named James Walker stood with them. The question was simple. If we dock, what happens? They asked as a group. The keyhole opened and showed 3 short scenes. In the first scene, the docking went smoothly. The ship latched on and nothing bad happened. In the second, a small alignment error caused a jolt, and a crew member was injured. In the third, the ship's magnetic clamp failed, and the ship drifted, forcing a quick retreat. Then the images stopped as if the keyhole had said, there. Choose. For the first time, everyone understood what this thing might be. It was not just a relic. It was a tool. A tool that could show outcomes before they happened. But it still did not explain how. And that made it more frightening, not less. Dr. Miller called a meeting. The ship's main hall filled with people. Faces were tight. Voices were careful. No one wanted to sound afraid, but fear was there, quiet and heavy. We have discovered something that can change everything, Dr. Miller said. If this device shows futures, it can save lives. It can prevent accidents. It can help us make better choices. Helen raised her hand. Or it can become a trap, she said. If we rely on it too much, we stop trusting ourselves. We stop learning. We stop being human. A few people nodded. A few looked away. Mark stood and spoke, even though he did not like speaking in crowds. It does not respond to one person, he said. It responds to groups. That matters. It means it may not be built for control by one leader. It may be built for shared thinking. A security officer frowned. Or it refuses to obey a single voice because it wants confusion, he said. Mark shook his head. No, he said softly. It is consistent. When we act like a team, it answers more clearly. When we act like a single command, it stays quiet. That is not chaos. That is a rule. After the meeting, Mark returned to the lab alone. The ship's lights were dim. The dead star outside gave no comfort. The ring drifted like a silent witness. He watched the keyholes glow and thought about the images. They were not perfect movies. They were like hints, warnings, chances. He replayed the first moment when it responded. Daniel had said, "Show us something," as if speaking to a person. And the keyhole had listened. Mark opened a new log file and typed a note for himself. The keyhole is not a mirror. It is a choice engine. It wants a question shaped by many minds. He paused, fingers hovering over the keys. Then he added a second note. If it can show futures, someone will try to use it to control futures. He leaned back, letting that thought sink in. He knew humans well. Humans were curious, but they were also hungry for safety. They wanted certainty. They wanted a way to stop loss and failure. A device like this could become a promise. And promises could turn into chains. A soft chime sounded. A message appeared on his screen. It was from Helen. "Come to the observation deck," it read. "You should see this." Mark walked fast through the hallways, his boots tapping on metal floors. When he reached the deck, Helen stood by the wide window. James Walker was there too, arms crossed, watching the ring. "What is it?" Mark asked. Helen pointed. The keyhole's glow had changed. It was brighter than before, not sharp, but awake. And inside the hollow center, something faint was forming, even though no one had asked a question. A thin pattern appeared, like a slow drawing made of light. It looked like lines connecting points, A web. A map. Mark's throat tightened. Is it responding to us just being here? He asked. James shook his head. We didn't speak, he said. We didn't signal. It just started. The pattern continued to build. It spread outward from the center like a flower opening. Mark noticed that the lines seemed to match the positions of the people on the deck. Not their bodies, but their movement, their small shifts, their quiet choices about where to stand. Helen whispered, It sees us as a group even when we are silent. Mark stared, feeling both wonder and unease. The keyhole was not only reacting to words. It was reacting to presence. To togetherness. The map in the ring brightened once like a heartbeat. Then it faded away, leaving only the slow, soft glow again. Helen turned to Mark. It's learning us, she said. Mark did not answer right away. He looked at the ancient ring hanging in the dark near the dead star, and he felt the weight of the discovery pressing down on his mind. It was a keyhole. A way to see. A way to know. But it was also a door. And Mark had the strong feeling that the hardest part was not finding the future. The hardest part would be deciding what to do with it. The days around the galactic keyhole grew busy and strange. Humans no longer treated it like a silent object. They treated it like a careful listener. Each test was planned with care. Each question was shared in groups. Each result was written down and argued over, sometimes late into the ship's night cycle. At first, the keyhole showed simple futures. If the crew asked about moving a probe, it showed the probe drifting or stopping or failing. If they asked about power changes, it showed small system shifts. Nothing dramatic. Nothing heroic. Just quiet cause and effect. Then something changed. One morning the crew tested the same question twice. The question was simple. If we move the ship closer by 10 meters, what happens? The group asked together. The keyhole opened and showed a calm future. The ship moved closer. No harm followed. Later that same day, after many talks and small arguments, the group asked the exact same question again. The image was different. This time the keyhole showed a power spike during the move. It showed alarms flashing. It showed a fast correction that avoided damage, but only barely. The room went quiet. Mark Evans checked the logs again and again. The question is the same, he said. The timing is the same. The distance is the same. Helen Moore stood with her arms folded, eyes fixed on the fading glow. But we are not the same, she said. That was when they began to understand. The keyhole was not showing one future. It was showing futures shaped by human action. Not just physical action but mental action. Discussion. Doubt. Confidence. Choice. Every small decision changed the path. They tested this idea carefully. Before asking a question, the group would talk calmly and reach agreement. The keyhole showed stable futures. When they argued or rushed, the futures became messy and risky. Sometimes the images split into many layers like broken glass stacked together. The keyhole did not punish mistakes. It showed them. And humans learned fast. They stopped trying to force clean answers. Instead, they watched how their behavior shaped what the keyhole showed. When mistakes happened, they did not hide them. They talked openly, adjusted plans, and tried again. This way of working confused the alien observers. Several older space powers had sent silent watching stations near the dead star. They did not approach. They did not speak. But they watched every movement. Their records showed something impossible. The keyhole had always behaved in fixed ways before. Ancient reports described it as stable, predictable, and safe only under strict control. It showed one future at a time. That future did not change unless the question changed. Now it was different. The alien observers sent messages back to their councils. The reports carried fear. The humans are breaking prediction, one report said. The device no longer settles on a single outcome. Another report warned, they do not follow fixed command paths. They argue. They revise. Yet the system does not collapse. The alien leaders did not understand this. Their civilizations depended on fixed plans. Decisions flowed from the top. Errors were punished or hidden. Change was slow and dangerous. To them, the keyhole had always been a guide rail. A tool to lock the future into safe lines. Humans were treating it like a teacher instead. Helen Moore spent long hours reviewing old alien myths and half-decoded records. She worked in a quiet room filled with soft screens and slow music. Her job was not to control machines but to understand stories. One night, while reading a damaged archive fragment, she froze. The fragment spoke of the builders of the keyhole. It described a time when the galaxy was young and chaotic. Species rose and fell quickly. Wars burned entire regions of space. Fear ruled every choice. The builders had wanted safety above all else. They created the keyhole not to explore freedom but to reduce it. The device was meant to guide outcomes into narrow paths. Paths with low risk. Paths without surprise. Paths without choice. Helen's heart beat faster as she read. The text described how the builders trusted the keyhole more than themselves. They followed its visions without question. Over time their society stopped debating, stopped experimenting, stopped failing. When something unexpected finally happened, they could not adapt. Helen leaned back in her chair, staring at the dark ceiling. "It was never meant for us," she whispered. The next day she shared her findings with the core team. "This device was built to control the future," she said calmly. "Not to understand it. Not to live in it." James Walker frowned. "Then why does it react so well to us?" he asked. Helen met his eyes. "Because we are doing the one thing its builders avoided," she said. "We accept uncertainty." Mark added quietly, "We don't obey it." That truth settled heavily over the room. From that point on, the keyhole began to behave even more strangely. Sometimes it showed futures that vanished mid-image, like paths that ended before they began. Sometimes it showed futures that only made sense after humans changed their plans. One test stood out. The crew asked, "What happens if we share this discovery with the wider galaxy?" The keyhole responded with a flood of images. Some showed cooperation, shared research, slow progress. Others showed fear, blockades, attempts to seize control of the keyhole. The images shifted each time the crew discussed them. When they spoke about secrecy, the futures darkened. When they spoke about openness, the futures spread wider, less clear but less violent. The keyhole refused to choose for them. Older alien observers grew alarmed. Messages finally arrived, formal and cold. "Human activity is destabilizing a protected relic," one message said. "Cease uncontrolled interaction." Another warned, "Prediction systems must remain stable. Your methods introduce unacceptable uncertainty." The humans did not ignore these messages. They discussed them openly. Some crew members argued for caution. "They are afraid," one said. "We should slow down." Others argued for trust. "Fear has shaped their history," another replied. "That does not mean it must shape ours." Mistakes happened during this time. A test caused a temporary power loss. A sensor array burned out. A probe was lost when a future changed too fast to track. Each mistake became a lesson. No one was punished. No one was blamed. The logs were shared. The reasons were discussed. Improvements followed. The keyhole seemed to respond to this honesty. Its images became clearer when mistakes were admitted. When the crew tried to hide errors, the futures blurred. Mark noticed this pattern and wrote another note. The keyhole does not reward perfection. It responds to learning. Helen spent more time near the observation deck now. She liked to watch the ring drift against the empty starfield. She felt no fear when she looked at it. Only sadness. "This device was built by people who were tired of choice," she told Mark one evening. "They wanted peace without effort." Mark nodded. "But peace without choice is just quiet control," he said. Alien pressure increased. More warnings came. Some observers moved closer. Their ships held strict formations, perfect and rigid. Humans noticed something strange in the keyhole's responses during this time. Whenever fear dominated the room, the futures narrowed. Whenever curiosity returned, the futures opened again. The keyhole did not force humans forward. It waited. And humans continued anyway. They accepted that they would never fully understand the device. They accepted that every step carried risk. They accepted that the future could not be locked into place. That acceptance became their strength. One quiet cycle, Helen stood alone near the window, watching the soft glow turn inside the ring. She thought about the ancient builders, frozen by fear of change. She thought about the alien observers, trapped in fixed plans. She smiled sadly. "The keyhole was built to guide outcomes," she said softly to herself. "But it found a species that values freedom more than certainty." Behind her, the glow shifted, slow and gentle, as if listening. And somewhere deep inside its ancient systems, something old and rigid began to bend. The change began without warning. One quiet cycle, while most of the crew rested, the galactic keyhole reacted on its own. The soft glow inside the ring brightened and tightened, pulling inward like a slow breath. Sensors across the station lit up at once. Alarms did not sound, but data flowed fast, faster than before. Mark Evans was the first to arrive in the control room. Helen Moore followed close behind, still pulling on her jacket. Others rushed in as screens filled with symbols, patterns, and layered light. "It's opening something," a technician said, voice low and tense. "Internal systems." deep ones. The keyhole was unlocking itself. Inside the hollow center, shapes formed that were not futures. They were records. Long streams of images and data unfolded like pages turning. Cities appeared. Strange stars. Ancient beings with calm faces and careful movements. Their technology was clean and precise. Too precise. Helen leaned closer, eyes wide. These are the builders, she said. This is their past. The images showed a galaxy full of danger. Wars between early space species. Sudden collapses. Unstable worlds. Fear was everywhere, written into every movement of the ancient builders. They were not cruel. They were afraid. The records showed how they built the galactic keyhole. It was not meant to explore all futures. It was meant to narrow them. The builders wanted safe paths only. Paths without surprise. Paths they could control. Whenever choice grew wide, their systems failed. So they removed choice. They trusted prediction more than people. Helen felt a tight pain in her chest as she watched. They feared choice, she said softly, because choice broke their control. The records showed how their leaders used the keyhole to decide everything. Where ships went. Who spoke. Which ideas were allowed. Over time, debate disappeared. Failure vanished too, but so did growth. When an event came that the keyhole did not predict, their society froze. The records ended there. The glow dimmed, leaving the room silent. No one spoke for a long time. Laura Bennett stood at the back of the room, hands clasped behind her. She was a diplomat trained to listen more than speak. She had been watching not just the images but the people around her. Their faces showed shock, sadness, and a quiet understanding. This truth cannot stay here, Laura said at last. Mark turned. If we share this, some will panic, he said. Others will try to seize the keyhole. Laura nodded. I know. But hiding it would be worse. Control thrives in silence. Helen met Laura's eyes. They deserve to know, she said. All of them. Laura prepared a message for the wider galaxy. Was careful. Come. Clear. She did not accuse. She did not threaten. She shared the truth as simply as she could. She explained what the keyhole was. Why it was built. How its builders feared choice. How control had destroyed them. She also explained what humans were doing differently. We do not obey the futures, Laura said in her message. We learn from them. We accept mistakes. We decide together. The message spread fast. Some species listened with interest, others with fear. Older powers reacted sharply. Their council sent warnings, then demands. You undermine stability, one message said. You risk chaos, said another. Laura answered them all with the same calm words. Stability without choice is not peace, she said. It is silence. As the galaxy reacted, the keyhole began to struggle. Its future visions grew unstable. When humans asked questions, the images flickered. Paths split and rejoined. Some futures dissolved before forming fully. Mark studied the data and felt a strange mix of worry and pride. It can't lock us down, he said. We changed too fast. The keyhole started marking human paths differently. Where other species had clean, narrow future lines, humans showed wide, branching spreads. The system labeled them with a new symbol, one not seen before. Unstable. Alien observers noticed immediately. This is dangerous, their reports warned. Humans cannot be predicted. They do not settle. That was exactly the problem. One test made this clear. The crew asked a simple question. What happens if we leave the keyhole alone for one cycle? The keyhole showed nothing. They asked again later after long discussion. This time it showed several faint futures. In one, the station stayed quiet. In another, alien ships approached. In a third, humans chose to leave entirely. None of the futures stayed long enough to study. Helen smiled sadly. It can't decide, she said. Because we haven't. Laura watched the ring from the observation deck later that day. Messages continued to arrive from across the galaxy. Some species thanked her. Others warned her. A few begged humans to take control of the keyhole for everyone's safety. She refused them all. We will not replace one control with another, she said in her replies. The pressure grew. Alien fleets shifted positions. Their movements were perfect and planned. Predictable. The keyhole reacted strongly to this pressure. Whenever alien commands tightened, the futures darkened. Whenever humans slowed down and talked, the futures opened again, wide and unclear but alive. Mark recorded a final observation for the cycle. The keyhole fails when faced with shared choice. Helen added her own note. Control was its language. Freedom is not. As the station quieted, Laura stood once more before the ring. She felt no urge to command it. No desire to ask it for answers. She spoke softly, not as an order but as a statement. We choose our own path. The keyhole's glow shifted, uneven and unsure, like a system trying to find balance. For the first time since its creation, it faced a species it could not guide. And somewhere in its ancient code, written by beings who feared uncertainty, a warning began to repeat. Human futures cannot be fixed. Human futures cannot be controlled. Human futures are open. The failure began quietly. No alarms screamed at first. No lights flashed red. It started as a soft drop in power, so small that most systems corrected it without notice. Only a few numbers on a side screen shifted out of their normal range. James Walker noticed. He was a flight engineer, trained to feel when a machine was uneasy. He sat in his chair and frowned, eyes moving across the displays. The station around the galactic keyhole was stable, but not calm. Power flowed, but not smoothly. Small delays appeared in the control loops. "This doesn't feel right," he said to no one in particular. Then the second drop came. Lights dimmed across one section of the station. A hum changed pitch. Gravity wavered for half a second, just enough for loose objects to float and then fall again. Alarms came alive. "Power imbalance in ring interface," a voice reported. "Structural stress rising." People moved fast. Chairs slid back. Voices filled the control room. Data poured in faster than one person could read. James stood up. "Stop shouting," he said, not loud but clear. Some voices fell quiet. Others followed. There was no single command system for moments like this. That was a choice humans had made early on. Control was shared. Decisions were built from many inputs. Now that choice was being tested. "What failed?" James asked. "Ring coupling fluctuating," said Mark Evans. "The keyhole is drawing and releasing energy at random." "It's not random," Helen Moore said from another station. "It's reacting." Something changed. A sharp jolt shook the station. Not strong but enough to remind everyone how close they were to disaster. The keyhole's glow flared, bright and uneven, like a storm behind glass. "The station can't hold this forever," someone said. "We need a shutdown order." James shook his head. "There is no single switch," he said. "And forcing one could tear us apart." Alien observer ships shifted position outside. Their movements were precise, cold and careful. They waited. James took a breath. "Everyone," he said, "talk to me. One at a time." "Sure. What do you see?" A systems tech spoke first. "Power loops feeding back on themselves." A structural engineer followed. "Stress points growing near the ring mount." A pilot added, "Thrusters can counter drift, but only in small bursts." Helen spoke last. "The keyhole is unstable because it can't settle on a future. It's stuck." James listened. He did not interrupt. He did not choose quickly. He let the pieces form a picture in his mind. "Okay," he said. "We don't fight it. We slow it." Another tremor passed through the station. Lights flickered again. "How?" Mark asked. "Step by step," James said. "No big moves. Small ones. Together." He pointed at the power display. "Reduce ring interface draw by 5%. "That will drop shield strength," someone warned. "Do it," James said. 5% only." They did. The tremor eased just a little. "Structural team," James continued. "Shift load across secondary supports." "Done," came the reply. "Pilots," he said, "microthrust corrections only when needed. No continuous burn." Outside the station steadied. The keyhole's glow flickered wildly, then slowed. But the crisis was not over. A new alarm sounded. "Cooling failure near inner ring." "If that overheats," someone began. James raised a hand. "I know," he said. "Options." "We can vent heat," a tech said, "but it risks destabilizing the field." Helen shook her head. "The keyhole reacts badly to sudden loss." James nodded. "Then we don't vent fast." He looked around. "Any slower method?" A junior engineer spoke up, voice unsure. "We could cycle heat through auxiliary loops." "Zoltech. Not efficient." James smiled slightly. "Old tech is fine," he said. "Do it." They worked together, passing tasks, checking each other's steps. No one shouted orders. No one waited to be told everything. Each person acted within their skill, trusting the others to do the same. Minutes passed. Sweat formed. And shook. The station groaned, metal flexing under stress. Then slowly the alarm softened. Power levels stabilized. Heat dropped. Gravity steadied. The keyhole's glow changed again. It no longer flared. It pulsed, uneven and confused, like a heart unsure of its rhythm. Mark stared at the data. "It's trying to predict us," he said. "And failing." James let out a long breath. "Good," he said. "Let it fail." Alien observer ships moved closer. Their messages came sharp and urgent. "You must disengage immediately. Your methods are unsafe. Yield control." Laura Bennett's voice came through the channel, calm and steady. "We are handling it," she said. "Stand down." The reply was cold. "Your lack of command structure endangers all." James glanced at the keyhole. Inside its hollow center, faint images formed and broke apart. Futures tried to appear, then vanished. Paths split, tangled, and collapsed. The system could not choose one outcome. Every time it leaned toward a result, human actions changed it. The keyhole was lost. A final surge hit the station. Not strong but sharp. James spoke quickly. "All teams, final adjustments. Match current levels. Hold steady." Everyone moved at once, without waiting. Power balanced. Stress dropped below danger limits. The station went quiet. The keyhole dimmed, its glow returning to a soft, uncertain motion. Silence filled the control room. Then someone laughed. Just a short sound, full of relief. "It's over," Mark said quietly. James sat down, hands resting on his knees. He felt tired but clear. Helen walked closer to the window. "Look," she said. On the main display, the keyhole's internal record updated. Symbols shifted. Data rearranged itself. A new entry appeared. A known factor. "What does that mean?" someone asked. Mark smiled tiredly. "It means it gave up trying to solve us." Laura's voice came through again. "Alien councils are reacting," she said. "They don't like this." James looked around at the room full of people who had saved the station together. "They don't have to like it," he said. "They just have to understand it exists." Outside, the alien ships held position, unsure. Inside the keyhole, no clear future formed. For the first time since it was built, the ancient system faced a species it could not command, predict, or reduce to a single path. And it recorded the truth at last. Humans do not follow one future. They make many. And that makes them unknowable. The decision did not come in a rush. After the crisis passed, the station around the galactic keyhole felt different. Quieter. Not because danger was gone, but because everyone understood what had almost been lost. The keyhole still drifted near the dead star, glowing softly, calm and unreadable. Humans gathered to talk not once but many times. There was no vote taken in one room. No single leader announced a choice. Engineers spoke with scientists. Pilots spoke with historians. Diplomats listened more than they talked. Every fear was said out loud. Every hope was tested against reason. They asked the keyhole one last question together. "What happens if we keep using you?" The glow stirred. Images tried to form. They saw progress. Faster learning. Fewer accidents. They also saw dependence. Waiting for answers instead of thinking. Trust shifting from people to prediction. The futures blurred, mixed, and then faded. The keyhole did not choose. That silence was answer enough. Helen Moore spoke first. "This device was built by people who were afraid to choose," she said. "We are not." James Walker nodded. "But we could become that way," he said. "If we let it decide too much." Laura Bennett folded her hands. "Power is not always in using a tool," she said. "Sometimes it is in setting it down." The room was quiet after that. Then one by one people agreed. Not because they were scared of the keyhole, but because they cared about what they might become if they kept looking through it. The plan was careful and slow. The keyhole would not be destroyed. Humans did not believe in erasing knowledge. Instead, it would be sealed. Isolated. Left untouched but preserved. A door closed, not locked by force but by choice. Alien observers reacted with shock. "Why give up such power?" their messages asked. Laura answered calmly. "Because not all power should be used," she said. Some alien councils accused humans of weakness. Others of deception. Very few listened. The sealing process began. Emily Carter worked on the outer station systems. She was a navigation analyst, quiet by nature, thoughtful, rarely in the center of events. She had spent months watching the keyhole from a distance, tracing how its presence bent planning and thought. Now she watched as systems disconnected one by one. Power feeds were cut slowly. Field stabilizers were adjusted. The station began to pull back meter by meter. The keyhole did not resist. Its glow dimmed slightly as if it understood. As the final interface shut down, the ancient system unlocked one last record. No images. No futures. Just a simple update. Humanity, turning point species. No explanation followed. Helen read the record twice then smiled. That's enough, she said. With the keyhole sealed, there was nothing left to study. The station had no reason to remain. Evacuation began. Ships undocked in calm order. Equipment was packed away. Personal items were gathered. No one rushed. No one looked back too many times. Emily waited until her shift ended before leaving the observation deck. She stood alone looking through the wide window. The galactic keyhole drifted in silence, a perfect ring against endless dark. No glow now reached outward. No futures waited to be asked. It looked smaller somehow. Not weaker. Just quiet. Emily remembered the first day she had seen it. The wonder. The fear. The feeling that everything was about to change. It had changed. But not in the way anyone expected. Humans did not take control of the future. They chose to release it. Her communicator chimed softly. Emily, Mark's voice said. Last transport is ready. I'm coming, she replied. She took one last look at the ring. Thank you, she whispered, not sure why. Then she turned away. The station's lights dimmed as systems shut down fully. One by one, ships jumped away from the dead star, leaving the keyhole alone again, just as it had been for ages. Alien observers watched from a distance. They updated their records with confusion and concern. Humans refused certainty, one report said. They abandoned prediction, said another. Some saw danger in that. Others quietly felt hope. The galaxy moved on. Trade routes shifted. Alliances changed. Stories spread. The tale of the galactic keyhole became a lesson told in many forms. Some called humans reckless. Some called them wise. Most did not know what to think. But one fact could not be denied. When given the power to see the future, humans chose restraint. When offered control, they chose care. And because of that choice, the galaxy changed. Not with war. Not with conquest. But with a new idea. That the future does not belong to machines or plans or fear. It belongs to those who know when to stop looking ahead and start living instead.